B'siyata d'shmaya, we're going to start Brachos Daf Beis, the very first Daf in Shas, and we should have siyata d'shmaya to understand and learn right through to the last Daf in Shas. Says the Mishnah, Me'ei mosai koirin es shema ba'arvin. What's the earliest time a person can be mekayim the mitzvah of krishma shel arvis? Says the Mishnah, Mishor she'koyanim nechnosim lechol b'trumoson. It's from the time that koyanim eat their truma, and we'll soon see that that means tzeis hakochovim, ad soifa shmoyer rishona. Till the end of the first shift, we'll see in the Gemara that the night is split into either 3 shifts or 4 shifts, and the Chachomim, Divi Rebbe Eliezer holds that one can say Krishma shel Arvis from tzeis hakochovim, which is the Shor she'koyanim nechnosim lechol b'trumoson, until the end of the first shift. The Chachomim oimrim ad chatzois. The Chachomim say that Be'etzem min haTorah Krishma shel Arvis can be said the whole night, till the morning. But in order that you should not overstep that time, you shouldn't by mistake miss that time, they said, make sure you say Krishma till Chatzois. Rabbi Gamliel says, Ad sheyala amud hashachar, that he does not hold of this extra gzeira, and he says that you can say Krishma until the morning, like the original Doiraisa, that Krishma Shelaylo can be said all night. Ma'aseh uba'u bonov mibeis hamishte. The children of Rabbi Gamliel came home from a chasna, and they came home after Chatzois, and they had missed Krishma. Omru loy korinu es shema. They said to Rabbi Gamliel, their father, we have not said Krishma yet. We know that you hold that we can say Krishma till the morning, but the halacha is like the Chachomim, and the Chachomim hold that you can only say Krishma till Chatzois. Who's the halacha like? Do the Chachomim also agree, like Rabbi Gamliel, that you can say it till the morning, just you should try and say it before Chatzois, but if you have an oinus like we did, then we can say it even after Chatzois? Or do the Chachomim make a hard rule that after Chatzois you cannot say Krishma anymore? Amar lohem, Rabbi Gamliel says, Im loy ola amud hashachar, chayovin atem likrois, since it's still night, even according to the Chachomim, since you are onus, you did not intentionally miss the time of Chatzois, therefore you can and must still say Krishma. V'lo zu belvad, omru, elo kol ma she'omru Chachomim at Chatzois, mitzvoson al sheyala amud hashachar. All those mitzvahs that the Chachomim said are till Chatzois, since they are mitzvahs that must and can be done at night, their main time is till the morning, and even the Chachomim agree that the Ikar Azman is the whole night. Ad sheyala amud hashachar. A few examples of this. Hektar chalovim veivorim. Korbanos could only be shechted in the day. If, however, there was not enough time or space on the Mizbeach to put all the limbs of the korban oila, or the fats of all other korbanos onto the Mizbeach, there was a mitzvah to make sure they got onto the Mizbeach before the end of the night. And that mitzvah was till the morning, till alois hashachar, mitzvah son sheyala amud hashachar. And Rashi even tells us that in this case of Hektar Chalovim Veivorim, the Chachomim agree that one can do it till Alois HaShachar, and there's no Gezerah Bechlal on Chatzois. The Chatzois was only said on the other 2 cases in the Mishnah. Number 1, Krishma, in order that we shouldn't delay it and lose the time of Krishma, the Chachomim said say Krishma till Chatzois. And the next case, V'chola necholim liyom echod, those korbanos that could be brought and eaten, and may only be eaten a day and the night, one day which is the day that korban was shechted, and the following night, till when can they eat the korban? Mitzvason al sheyala amud hashachar, me'ikar adin they can be eaten, and there's a mitzvah to eat them before amud hashachar. After that it becomes noisar, and if somebody eats it, it's chiyuv korus. Nonetheless, the Chachomim said, eat it before Chatzois. Why? Imkein loma omru Chachomim at Chatzois. Why did the Chachomim say you should say Krishma or eat this korban before Chatzois if one's allowed to eat a meikar adin or say Krishma meikar adin till alois hashachar? K'dei leharchik odom min ha'avera, in order to make sure that a person shouldn't chas v'sholem misman Krishma or eat a korban after alois hashachar, which is a very serious avera of korus. Says the Gemara, Tana heicha koi diktoni mei mosai. the Mishnah starts with a question. Me'ei Mosai, when can you start saying Krishma? Where do we b'chral know that there is a mitzvah or chiyuv to say Krishma shel arvis? V'su, another question. Ma'ishno detoni ba'arvis bereisha, lisni de shachris bereisha. We would have thought the day starts in the morning. Why does the Mishnah not first tell us the halachas of Krishma shel shachris, and only after that the halachas of Krishma shel arvis? Answers the Gemara, Tana akro koi. It's mefurish in the pasuk, dichsiv b'shachbecha uvkumecha. There's a pasuk, number one, that tells us there's a chiyuv to read Krishma. It says in the pasuk, V'shinantum lovanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'visecha v'lechtecha v'aderecha v'shachbecha uvkumecha. And that's going on the mitzvah of Krishma. There's a chiyuv of Krishma b'shachbecha uvkumecha. And the pasuk also first says b'shachbecha, the time that you go to sleep, and only then uvkumecha, the time you wake up. Since the pasuk first mentions the Krishma shel arvis before Krishma shel shacharis, that's why our Mishnah does the same. V'achitoni, and our Mishnah is a continuation of that pasuk. Zman kriyas shma deshchiva, the Krishma that we're doing to be mekayim the mitzvah of uv'shachbecha, emas, what time is that? Says the Mishnah, mishal she'akohanim nechnosim lechel b'trumason. It's from the time of Tzeis HaKechovim, which is the time the Kohanim are allowed to eat truma, which we're going to discuss in the Gemara in a couple of minutes. V'iba is ema. Another teretz, the Gemara says, why we first speak about Krishma shel arvis before Krishma shel shacharis. Yalif mibriyasei shel olam. We learn it out from the Seder of the olam, the creation of the world. T'chsiv, it says in the pasuk, vayihi erev, vayihi voiker yom echad. First it says vayihi erev, it was night, and then vayihi voiker, it was day. Since by Ma'aseh Bereishis night came before day, when discussing Krishma, we also first speak about Krishma shel arvis, and only then Krishma shel shacharis. Yehochi asks the Gemara Seifa in the next Mishnah, Diktoni b'shachar mevarich shtayim lefaneo v'achas le'achareo u'ba'erev mevarich shtayim lefaneo shtayim le'achareo. In a future Mishnah, we're going to discuss not the halachas of the same Krishma, but the halachas of the brachos that are said before and after Krishma shel arvis and Krishma shel shacharis. And over there, the Mishnah discusses Krishma shel shacharis before Krishma shel arvis. If we have psukim telling us that Krishma shel arvis is first, why regarding the brachos does the Mishnah speak about Kriyas Shema shel shacharis first? Lisni shacharis bereisha, it should say the halachas of the brachos of Krishma shel arvis first. Answers the Gemara, Tana posach ba'arvis. The Mishnah starts with Ma'ariv, as we discussed, with Krishma shel arvis. V'hod toni shacharis, after discussing the chiyuv of Krishma shel arvis, the Mishnah discusses the chiyuv of Krishma shel shacharis. Ad de koi b'shacharis, once the Mishnah is already at shacharis, pirish mili de shacharis, it discusses the other halachas of Krishma shel shacharis, namely the brachas said before and after it. V'hadar parish mili de arvis, and then the Mishnah goes back to Ma'ariv and discusses the brachas before and after Krishma shel arvis. Says the Gemara, Omar Mar. We mentioned in the Mishnah that the time that you can say Krishma shel arvis is mishal she'akohanim nichnosim lechel b'trumason, from the time that Kohanim are allowed to eat truma. Now the truth is, Kohanim can always eat truma. What does it mean, mishal she'akohanim nichnosim lechel b'trumason? The answer is, we're talking about a Kohen that was tomei, and he had to become tahir, and then he had to be tovel in a mikveh during the day, and then wait for Erev Shemesh, for the day to come to an end, for the sun to set. Once the sun sets, and he's had Erev Shemesh, then he can eat truma. Before Erev Shemesh, even after he went to the mikveh, he was not yet allowed to eat truma. Mechti kohanim emes ka'ochli truma. So the Gemara says that, the Mishnah says that you can say Krishma from the time that Kohanim can eat truma. What time is that? Mishas Tzeis HaKechovim, from Tzeis HaKechovim. Asks the Gemara, Lisni Mishas Tzeis HaKechovim, why does the Mishnah just not tell us very straightforward? Me'emos HaKohen Shema Ba'arvin, from what time can you say Krishma shel arvis? From Tzeis HaKechovim. Why bring in the halacha of the Kohanim? Says the Gemara, Milsav Agav Urchik Mashmalon, the Mishnah wanted to teach us another halacha. Kohanim emos ka'ochli truma, when can Kohanim eat truma? Mishas Tzeis HaKechovim, from Tzeis HaKechovim, v'hok mashmalon, and there's an added chiddush here. Because some types of tumas, even after the Kohen goes to the mikveh in the day and waits for Erev Shemesh at night, there's an extra chiyuv that the next morning he has to bring a korban. And there are certain halachas and restrictions that the Kohen has before he brings that korban. And the Chiddush our Mishnah wants to tell us is the kapara loy ma'akva, that the fact that he has not yet brought his korban, which he can only do the next day, does not stop him from being able to eat truma from Tzeis HaKechovim after Herav Shemesh. Kedetanya, as we saw in the Brisa, that it says in the Pasuk, Uvo HaShemesh v'tohir v'achar yoichal min HaKodeshim, that bias shimshoi ma'akvosoi, Uvo HaShemesh means the sun sets. As soon as the sun sets, then he can eat truma. And the sun setting is ma'akav him melechel b'truma. All the time that the sun is not yet set, even after he's been to mikvah, he cannot eat truma. Ve'in kaparosei ma'akvosei melechel b'truma. But the fact that he has not yet brought his korban, which he will only bring the next day, does not stop him from being allowed to eat truma. And now the Gemara asks, Umimai dahai uvo hashemesh bias shemesh v'hai v'tir tihir yoima. You're based on a pasuk. The pasuk says uvo hashemesh v'tohir v'achar yoichal min hakodshim. And the Gemara just explained, uvo hashemesh means the sun sets. V'tohir means that tohir yoima is a lotion of the day has passed. Like every tahara is after the tumah has passed. So when the day passes, it's called tihir yoima. Tihir means when something is cleared. When the day is cleared, it's finished, then the night starts and you can eat from the truma. So the Gemara says, how do you know that's pshat in the pasuk? Dilma, maybe bias oiroi. It doesn't mean that the sun has set. Uva shemesh might mean that the sun has risen, that the light has come forward, which is the next morning. Bias oiroihu. Umay v'tir, what does v'tir mean? Not that the day has cleared, it means toher gavra. It's an instruction. The day has arrived, the next day has arrived, and the gavra, the person, the kohen, is now going to bring his korban that he's mechuyev to bring, and only then he'll be able to eat truma. Not like it says in our Mishnah that the kohenim can eat truma from Tzeis HaKechovim. Omar Rabbi Barav Shila imkein leimekrov yitar. If it was true that v'tir means that it's an instruction that the kohen has to bring his korban the next morning, it would say v'yitar. My v'tar, why does it say that he became tohir, as if it happened passively? It must mean tihir yoima, that as soon as the sun sets, the day has passed. Once the day has passed, the kohen can eat truma. Kadam re'enchi, that's what people say. Erev shemsho, when the sun sets, v'ad ki yoima, and then the day has passed. So this loshon of v'ad ki yoima, which is the passage of a day, is something which is attributed and associated to the sun setting, and that's why the pasuk, when it says uvo hashemesh v'toyer, it means that sunset and the day has passed, and the kohen can eat truma straight away. Continues the Gemara, b'marava had Rabbi Barav Shila lo shemi eluhu. In Marava, in the Beis HaMedrash, they did not hear this diuk of Rabbi Barav Shila that is medayik, that it doesn't say vayitar, it says vatar. And from there we learnt that it means the sun setting and not the sun rising. But in Marava they didn't have this diuk. Ubaolei miboy, they asked a question. Hi, uvo hashemesh, this pasuk of uvo hashemesh v'tohir, which the Bryce is based on, what does it mean? Does it mean bias shimshoihu umay v'toyer toyer yoima? Does it mean the sun setting and the day has passed, as we learn? Oidilma, or possibly bias oiroi. It means the raising of that light when the sun comes up the next morning. Umay v'toyer. What does the word v'toyer mean? It means toyer gavra. It will mean an instruction for the person, for the kohen, to bring his korban, and then he can eat truma. V'hadar pashto le'mi braysa. They brought a raya from the Brisa. Midiktani beBrisa, since it says in the Brisa, Siman Nadavar Tzeis HaKechovim, that the time that our Mishnah that says Mishosh HaKohanim Nichnosim Lechel B'Truma is Tzeis HaKechovim, Shema Mino, it must mean Bias Shimsheihu, that Uvo HaShemesh means that the sun sets, Umay v'Toyer Toyer Yoima, Toyer means that the day has passed, and already from Tzeis HaKechovim, a kohen can eat truma, and that must be pshat in the pasuk, because it's the pasuk that tells us that v'achar yoichal min hakodshim, he can eat truma after uvo hashemesh v'toyer. Says the Gemara, Omar Mar, Mishah she'hakohanim nichnosim lechel b'trumason. We saw in our Mishnah that the earliest time that one can say Krishma shel Arvis is Mishor she'akohanim nichnosim lechol b'trumoson, which is Tzeis HaKechovim. Uraminhu, we have another brisa that also discusses the same shaila, when can you say Krishma shel Arvis, and seems to be saying a different time. And the Gemara wants to know, is there any reason to believe that the Mishnah and the brisa are arguing with each other? It says in the brisa, Me'emos ha'kohen shema ba'arvin, from what time can we say Krishma shel Arvis? Misheha'oni nichnas lechel pitoi b'melach, from the time that was normal for the poor people to prepare themselves for eating the bread with salt. And Tosfos says it can't mean the time they were eating, because it's the time you have to say Krishma according to this Tana. It means the time where people were preparing the meal for the Oni. Ad shah she'omed lifter mitoich sudasei. And the Zman of Krishma shel Arvis extends until the time that the poor person has finished eating his meal. Says the Gemara, Seifer vade pligamas nisin. These last words of this brisa that say that the Zman Krishma shel Arvis is until the poor person finishes his meal is definitely contrary to our Mishnah that says either the whole night, or till Chatzos, or till the end of the first Mishmeres. The question is, Reisha milema pligamas nisin, the beginning of the brisa, that says that the first and earliest time you can say Krishma shel Arvis is Mishor she'oni nichnas lechel pitei b'melach. Is that Tzeis HaKechovim, and then it's the same time as our Mishnah, or is it a different time? Says the Gemara, Loi, Oni v'kohen chad shiuruhu. At this point we have no reason to believe that the time that the Oni is eating his bread isn't exactly Tzeis HaKechovim, and it's just a different way of defining Tzeis HaKechovim, that the Mishnah speaks about kohanim nichnasim lechel b'trumoson, and the Brisa says the time that the Oni is eating his bread, but they're both the same time, and the Zman of Krishma shel Arvis starts from Tzeis HaKechovim. Uraminu, the Gemara is now going to ask him a different brisa. We learned in the second brisa, Me'emos ha'maschilin nikros Krishma ba'arvis, when's the earliest time you can say Krishma shel Arvis? Mishar shebnei Odom nichnosim lechel piton ba'arvis shabosis. From the time that people eat their Suda on Erev Shabbos. And this is obviously a little bit later than Tzeis HaKechovim, Divrei Reb Meir. That's the opinion of Reb Meir. The Chachamim say, Mishor she'akohanim zakoin lechel b'trumoson, from the time that the Kohanim eat the Truma, which is Tzeis HaKechovim. Siman l'davar Tzeis HaKechovim. V'afal pi she'ein raya l'davar, even though we don't have a clear mefurish makoir that the day ends at Tzeis HaKechovim and the night starts at Tzeis HaKechovim, maybe the day ends at Shkia and the night starts at Shkia. Zeicher l'davar, however, there is a zeicher in the psukim. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, V'anachnu oisim b'melacha, we were doing the melacha of building the Beis HaMikdash, v'chetzio machzikim b'ramochim, and half of them were holding spears, me'alois hashachar, from the time of alois hashachar, at Tzeis HaKechovim. V'omer, and there's another pasuk that says, V'hoyu lonu halaylo mishmar, at night we were guarding, v'hayoy melacha, the day hours were the hours that we were working. And the Gemara explains, my v'omer, what's this second pasuk adding? V'chi teima, are you going to suggest, Mechi arva shimsha laylo v'inhu de mechashchi umekadmi? It could be that the day starts from Netzachama, not from Alois HaShachar, and the day ends at Shkia, not at Tzeis HaKechovim. Either pasuk says that they were v'hoyo v'hayoim. Either pasuk says that they were oisim m'melocha me'alois hashachar at Tzeis HaKechovim. Yeah, that could be that since they were so enthusiastic about the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash, even though the day started at Netz, they went earlier and started from alois hashachar. Even though the day ends at Shkia, they continued until Tzeis HaKechovim. That's why we have the second pasuk. Tarshema v'hoya lonu alaylo mishmar v'hayoim melocha. The second pasuk tells us that all the hours that we were working from alois hashachar until Tzeis HaKechovim, they are called yom. So we have a remez that the day starts at alois hashachar and finishes at Tzeis HaKechovim. So that's a remez that the end of the day, the Herev Shemesh, is the beginning of the next day, and therefore the Kohen can eat Truma already from Tzeis HaKechovim, and the mitzvahs of the Laila start from Tzeis HaKechovim. And now the Gemara is going back to the Zman of Krishma Shel Shachris. Kosal Kodaitach, we assumed the oni ubnei adam, the shir of when an oni is nichnas lechel pitoi, which is mentioned in the previous brisa, and the shir of bnei adam lechel piton be'erev Shabbos, which is Reb Meir in this brisa, chad shiurahu, we assumed it was the same shir. Vi omras, if you're going to say, like we said before, that oni, the time then oni is nichnas lechel pitoi, v'koyin, and the time that koyin can be nichnas lechel trumoson, chad shiurahu, if it's the same shir, then chachomim hainu Reb Meir, then the chachomim that say koyanim lechel bitrumosom, and Reb Meir that says bnei adam lechel piton be'erev Shabbos, it's the same time. And if it's the same time, there's no machlekas. The brisa brings a machlekas between them. Elo shma mino, it must be oni shiura lechud v'koyin shiura lechud. The time that the oni is nichnas lechel piton is not tzeisa kichovim. And then the Mishnah will be arguing with that first brisa. Says the Gemara, loy, it could be oni v'koyin chad shiurahu. Like we said before, the oni nichnas lechel pitoi is the same time as tzeisa kichovim, the time that koyanim nichnosim lechel trumoson. V'oni ubnei adam lav chad shiurahu. And the chachomim in this second brisa who say tzeisa kichovim mishosha koyanim nichnosim lechel bitrumosom, that's one shir, and it's the same shir as oni. And the second, and Reb Meir holds that it's b'shosha b'nei adam lechel piton, which is a little bit after that. As we said before, the people eat their suda on Erev Shabbos a little bit after tzeisa kichovim. It's not the same shir. Continues the Gemara. V'oni v'koyin chad shiurahu. You're still sticking with this fact that the time that aniyim eat their bread every day is the same time that koyanim are nechnosim lechel b'trumosim, which is tzeisa kichovim, or aminu. We have a third brisa. In this third brisa, we're going to have 5 shittas, and it cannot be that any 2 of them are saying the same thing, because it's 5 arguing shittas, 5 times. And let's see how that works. What's the earliest time you can say Krishma shel Arvis? So the first mandama says Mishor shekidesh hayoim be'arvei Shabbosis. From Bein HaShmoshes, the beginning of Bein HaShmoshes, Divrei Rebbe Eliezer, from the beginning of Bein HaShmoshes, it's already Sofik Laila, and therefore one has to be machmir all the halachos of Shabbos, and that's the time that you can say Krishma shel Arvis. Rabbi Yeshua says Mishor she'koyanim tuhorin lechel b'trumoson. From the time that koyanim can eat truma after becoming tohir, and we've already discussed this is tzeisa kichovim. The third man, the Omer of Meir, Mishor she'koyanim toivlim lechel bitrumoson. If a kohen was Tomei and he had to go to the mikveh, before Bein HaShmoshes, this is even earlier than Rebbe Eliezer, and the time that you can say Krishma shel Arvis, start saying Krishma shel Arvis, is the time the kohenim go to mikveh, which is bechlal before Bein HaShmoshes. Omer Rabbi Yehuda asked Reb Meir, how can that be? They go to mikveh miba'id yoim. Is it really possible that ubeshach b'cha, which is the way the posuk tells us that one can start saying Krishma shel Arvis, is in the day? And the Gemara is soon going to discuss how Reb Meir answered Reb Yehuda. Reb Chanina Omer, the fourth shitta in the brisa, Mishah she'oni nichnas lechel pitoi b'melach. From the time that an oni is accustomed to eat his meal with his bread with salt. That's the time that people go to sleep. That's the time that you can say Krishma shel Arvis. Reb Achoy v'omri lo Reb Acha, either Reb Achoy or Reb Acha Omer, they said this is the fifth shitta in the brisa. Mishah she'roiv b'nei adam nichnosim lahosev, the time when regular people eat their meal in the evening. Now says the Gemara, Vi omras, if you're going to say that oni, the time then oni eats his meal, the kohen, and the kohen is tahir to eat truma, chad shiur is the same shiur, Reb Chanina hainu Reb Yeshua, then Reb Chanina and Reb Yeshua are saying the same thing, and it can't be, because the brisa is bringing them as 2 arguing shittas. Elolav shma mino, it must be shiura de oni lechud v'shiura de kohen lechud shma mino. It's the final decision. It must be that the time that the aniyim eat their meal is not tzeisa kichovim. It's either before tzeisa kichovim or it's after tzeisa kichovim. Asks the Gemara, Hai minayu mu'ucher, which one is later? Is oni before tzeisa kichovim, before the time of the kohanim eat truma, or after? Says the Gemara, mistabra de oni mu'ucher. It's probable that the oni is saying Krishma, is eating his meal after after Tzeis HaKechavim. Di Omras the Oni Mukdam, if you're going to say the Oni is before Tzeis HaKechavim, and it's not probable that there are so many shiurim of B'shach B'cha before Tzeis HaKechavim, says the Gemara, Mistabra de Oni Me'ucher. It's probable that the shiur of the Oni, the time that he eats his meal, is after Tzeis HaKechavim. Di Amras de Oni Mukdam, if you're going to say that the time the Oni eats his meal is before Tzeis HaKechavim, Reb Chanina Hainu Reb Eliezer. It's not probable that there's more than one shitta that says that you can say Krishma Shel Arvis before Tzeis HaKechavim. And Rabbi Eliezer already says it's from the time of Kiddush Hayom Be'erev Shabbos, which is Bein HaShmoshes. And if the time the Oni eats is also before Tzeis HaKechavim, that would be even earlier. And that's not mistaber. So it must be the time of the Oni is after Tzeis HaKechavim. Elolav Shma Mina, the Oni M'ucher Shma Mina. Continues the Gemara. Omar Mar. Omar le Rabbi Yehuda, we saw in the Brayso that Rabbi Yehuda asked Rabbi Meir, V'haloi kohanim miboid yoimim toivlim. Kohanim, they toivel not only before Tzeis HaKechavim, even before Bein HaShmoshes. How can it be that the time of B'shach B'cha is in daytime? Shapir Koma le Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda asked Rabbi Meir a good question. How does Rabbi Meir answer it? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir hachi koma. Rabbi Meir will answer as follows. Mi sovrus da anoa Bein HaShmoshes titchoka amina, anoa Bein HaShmoshes to Rabbi Yosi ko amina. Da Omar Rabbi Yosi, Bein HaShmoshes keheref ayin, ze nichnas v'ze yoytza, v'yev shelamid olav. We know from other places in Shas that there are two shittas when is Bein HaShmoshes. The one shitta, the shitta of Rabbi Yehuda, is that it's the time it takes to walk half a mil, which is quite a few minutes before Tzeis HaKechavim starts Bein HaShmoshes. And they have to tovel even before that. And then Rabbi Yehuda asked, L'shitosa, he asked a very good question. It cannot be Uvashach B'chai so early. However, there's another shitta, that's the shitta of Rabbi Yosi, that says that Bein HaShmoshes is a fraction of a second before Tzeis HaKechavim. It's not even possible to be able to determine when is the Bein HaShmoshes. It's keheref ayin, it's like the wink of an eye, the transition between day and night, and that transition is called Bein HaShmoshes. So Rabbi Yosi says that my Rabbi Meir answered Rabbi Yehuda that I Rabbi Meir hold like the Bein HaShmoshes of Rabbi Yosi, that Bein HaShmoshes is just a second before Tzeis HaKechavim, and the Kohanim go to mikveh just before that, before Rabbi Yosi's Bein HaShmoshes, and that's almost before Tzeis HaKechavim, a minute or two before Tzeis HaKechavim, and it's already possible to call that time Uvashach B'cha. Rabbi Yehuda asked this question because Rabbi Yehuda was understood that Bein HaShmoshes is his own Bein HaShmoshes, and Rabbi Yehuda's Bein HaShmoshes is a long time before Tzeis HaKechavim, and it cannot be that you can say Krishma from the before that Bein HaShmoshes. Continues the Gemara. Kashya de Reb Meir ad Reb Meir. In one brayso we saw that Reb Meir holds that the time that Bnei Adam are nichnosim lechel piton be'erev Shabbos, and in the last brayso we saw that Reb Meir is the one that says mishosha ke'anim toivlim. How can it be? It's a steer in Reb Meir. Answers the Gemara, Trei Tanoia libed Reb Meir. There were two Tanoim that were arguing as to what Reb Meir holds. Continues the Gemara, Kasha Reb Eliezer ad Reb Eliezer. In this last brayso we saw that Reb Eliezer holds that the time that you can start saying Krishma is from Kiddush Hayom Be'erev Shabbos, which is Bein HaShmoshes. In our Mishnah, the Mishnah starts Me'emos HaKohen Shema Ba'arvis, Mishosh HaKohenim Nechnosim Lechel B'Trumoson, which is Tzeis HaKechavim, Ad Soifo Shmori Rishono Div Reb Eliezer. That Reb Eliezer holds that you can start saying Krishma from Tzeis HaKechavim. It's a steer in Reb Eliezer. Says the Gemara, Trei Tanoia libed Reb Eliezer. It could be that it's a machlokas Tanoim as to what Reb Eliezer holds. We boy Seimer, now the teretz, Reish Lav Reb Eliezer he. Reb Eliezer is only discussing the Seifzman Krishma, Ad Seifa Shmor Rishono. But the beginning of the Zman Krishma, that was nothing to do with Reb Eliezer. That was the Chachomim. So the Chachomim in our Mishnah would hold like Rabbi Yeshua in this brayso, and Rabbi Yeshua holds Mishosh HaKohenim Nechnosim Lechel B'Trumosom. And in Mitzvah tomorrow we'll carry on the next sugya on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top.